What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Ravi Wadden, and one of the best lease deals in the country, the 2024 Subaru Solterra Premium, is back for another month. So in this video, what we'll do is we'll look at Subaru's manufacturer offer on the Subaru Solterra Premium. We'll dive into all the details like the monthly payment, the mileage allowance, and I'll give you lots of helpful tips and tricks along the way. And then in the second part of this video, what we'll do is we'll quickly run my 1.25% rule of leasing on this particular car. And the 1.25% rule of leasing is just a rule of thumb that I use to determine whether or not a particular lease deal is a good lease deal in terms of value. And then in the third part of this video, what we'll do is we'll quickly compare the monthly finance payments to the monthly lease payments on this Subaru Solterra. And I'll also give you some tips on how you can find a Subaru Solterra near you and how you can find inventory near you. Because I think one of the challenges that I've seen over the past couple of months, because I've been posting about this car for a while, is that people are having trouble finding units and finding inventory near them. We'll actually go to autotrader.com and I'll show you how you can potentially find some inventory near you and give you some tips and tricks that you can use to try to get this manufacturer lease offer. So if that sounds good to you, please be sure to like this video and please be sure to give me a subscribe or a follow. It would be greatly appreciated. But with that, let's go ahead and jump into the computer behind me and get this video started. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are on Subaru's website, and the zip code that I'm using is 98101. This is a Seattle, Washington zip code. And to my knowledge, this is a national lease offer, but it might be regional. So the monthly lease payment on this particular lease deal, this 2024, is what we're looking at, might be higher or lower depending on where you live. But anyways, let's go ahead and click on this 2024 Subaru Solterra Premium lease deal. And as you can see, you can lease this car for $329 a month. And now this offer is valid until July 1st, 2024. So you got about 25 days or so remaining on this lease. And if we go ahead and read the fine print, you'll see that you can lease this car for $329 a month. It's a 36-month lease. It's the premium trim because you can also get the touring trim, which is a level above this one. It includes the $7,500 EV tax credit. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what makes this lease deal so good, is that you get the $7,500 EV tax credit. And if you were to finance or buy this car, you would not get it. You only get it if you lease this particular car. And this lease only requires $329 due at signing. And this is just the first month's payment, this $329 that you see that's due at signing. It's just the first month's payment, but then you do have to pay tax, title, and license. And here in the state of Washington, you're probably looking at about, $500 or $600 every year in terms of registration. And then you'd probably have to pay an additional $500 or probably actually $700 to $800 taxes on your rebates. So you're probably looking at an additional $1,500 to $1,600 on top of this $329 that's due at signing. So it does get a bit confusing because a lot of manufacturers say, hey, only $329 due at signing. And then when you go to the dealership, they give you like a bill of, let's say, $1,500 to $2,000. And that's because this $329 is not taking into account registration, which varies depending on where you live, which county you live in, which municipality you live in, which state you live in. And it does not take into account taxes on rebates. So this $7,500 EV tax credit will be taxed. I think it's just at normal sales tax rate. So you're looking at about $750 on the $7,500. And there might be some other taxes on some additional rebates as well for them to get to this $329 monthly payment. But moving forward, you'll see that this car has an MSRP of $46,340. And that plays a huge role into why this is such a good deal. You also see the net cap cost is $34,915. And you'll see that you have a lease end purchase option of $25,024. This is a huge misconception when it comes to car leasing, that you can't buy the car, you can't keep it long term. But as you can see, at the end of the lease term, at the end of the 36 months, you can buy this car for $25,024. You'll also see that this lease allows for 10,000 miles a year. And if you drive more than 10,000 miles a year or 30,000 miles over the course of the lease, you'll have to pay a 15-cent a mile excess mileage penalty. So if you drive 12 or 15,000 miles a year, it's cheaper usually just to get the 12 or 15,000 mile a year lease when you sign your lease rather than paying this excess mileage penalty. Now, I know we went through that section relatively quickly, but if you have any questions about it, just let me know in the comment section below and I'll be sure to get back to you. But with that, in this section of the video, what I want to do is run my 1.25% rule of leasing on this 2024 Subaru Solterra. And my 1.25% rule of leasing, as I already mentioned, is just a rule of thumb that I use to determine whether or not a particular lease deal is a good lease deal in terms of value. Because, a $329 monthly payment like we have on this Subaru Solterra, I think it's, $329 a month, really doesn't give you any context. So what we do is we take the MSRP into account, and I'll show you why this Subaru Solterra is such a good lease deal in terms of value. Now, to run the 1.25% rule of leasing on this car is fairly simple. All you're going to do is take the monthly payment of $329 a month. And since that's, the first month's payment, you don't need to do anything else. All we're going to do is multiply this by 1.1 to account for 10% sales tax. And that's the sales tax rate here in Seattle. Where you live, I'm sure the sales tax rate is probably lower. So if it's 8%, just multiply it by 1.08 instead of 1.1. If it's 7% where you live, multiply by 1.07. But when I multiply by 10%, I get a monthly payment with $0 down, including taxes, of $361.90 a month. And now what I'm going to do is just divide this by this vehicle's MSRP, which is $340. And when I do that, I get 0.0078. I'll multiply this by 100 to move the decimal point over 2 spots. And when I do that, I get 0.78%. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is how the 1.25% rule of leasing works. Anytime you have a vehicle with a monthly payment, including taxes, with $0 down, and that monthly payment is less than 1.5% of the MSRP, that's a good lease deal. That's a car that I'm leasing every single time. That's a good lease deal. If your monthly payment with $0 down, including taxes, is less than 1.25% of the MSRP, that's a great lease deal. That's much better than the 1.5%. Under 1.25% is awesome. And anytime your monthly payment with $0 down, including taxes, is less than 1% of the vehicle's MSRP, that's an amazing lease deal. And this Subaru Solterra is a sub 1% lease deal. As you can see here, it's sitting at 0.78%. So it's not only sub 1%, it's sub 0.8%, which makes this an amazing lease deal in terms of value. Now, some of you may say that the MSRP on this car is slightly inflated, and maybe that's the case, and maybe that's not the case. Even if the MSRP on this car was $40,000, this is still an amazing value. Now, in this part of the video, what I want to do is compare the monthly finance payments to the monthly lease payments. And, in this part of this video, you'll really see why leasing this Subaru Solterra is a financial no-brainer, and it just makes a lot of financial sense. So have the auto loan calculator up. What I'm going to do is use an auto price of $46,340. I'm going to use a loan term of 72 months and an interest rate of 0%. And the reason I'm using 72 months and 0% is because that is the finance offer from Subaru on Subaru.com. We're not going to put a down payment down. I'm going to use my state of Washington and a sales tax rate of 10%. And we won't include title registration and other fees, which this defaults to $2,300, because we didn't do that in the 1.25% rule of leasing that I just did earlier. And when I hit calculate, you'll see that this car with 0 down and 0% interest rate at a 72-month loan term, you'd have a monthly payment of $643 a month compared to a monthly payment of $329 a month and around $360 a month if you include taxes. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's a significant difference. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, hey, Ravi, nobody's going to pay MSRP for this Subaru Solterra. Okay, let's just say you got a $10,000 discount. So instead of paying $46,340, let's say you paid $36,340. So let's go ahead and calculate that monthly payment. You're still looking at a monthly payment of over $500. And let's actually, for fun, let's just lower the monthly payment $20,000 to $26,340, 72 months, 0%. And even with that, or, including taxes on the lease payment, only then do you get a very similar monthly payment of around $365 a month. And ladies and gentlemen, that's why I think, leasing this car is such a great value and is a financial, no-brainer, if you ask me. And one of the big factors is the $7,500 EV tax credit. Like I mentioned earlier in this video, if you finance this car, you don't get that EV tax credit. But if you lease it, you do get that tax credit. And the best part about leasing this Subaru Solterra, if we go back to the Subaru website, let's actually click on leasing, let's actually unclick financing, you'll see that it does have a buyout option. So if you like this car, or if you didn't drive it that much during the course of your lease and you have some positive equity left over, you do have the option to buy it or sell it before the lease ends for a profit. And the lease end purchase price is $25,024. And that's one thing I want to keep you guys cognizant of, is that most leases outside of Tesla, almost every single lease, as a matter of fact, has a buyout option or a purchase option, as they call it. So that's one thing that you should take into consideration, because if you lease this car and buy it, you probably end up saving a lot more money than just buying it outright from the get-go. And in this part of the video, before we go, what I wanted to do is take you guys to autotrader.com, because it seems like a lot of you guys aren't able to find inventory near you. And I think using a tool like AutoTrader or Cars.com, this is not like a sponsored post or anything, but using a tool like AutoTrader or Cars.com is a great way to find inventory near you. So I'll just click on Subaru Solterra. I'll use my zip code of 98101, and I'll use some additional search filters here. What I like to do is just use a radius of 500 miles. I mean, I'd go up to 1,000, but there's no 1,000-mile option here, but 500 miles is fine. I'll just use any year, but what I want to do is click on new here. So, I can make sure I can lease this car and get the ultra low lease payment of $325. And then you can sort by relevance. I usually typically like to sort by price. So if the selling price is low, you can assume that, this dealership is probably more willing to honor that lease deal of $329 a month as well. And as you can see, I've got this one selling, $8,000 below MSRP. It's a touring, but it's almost $8,000 below MSRP. $54,000 MSRP, or $55,000 nearly, selling for $47,000. And I think this is one of the cool tips and tricks that you can use. Here's another one that's already listed, $6,000 below MSRP. Here's another one. So, I think these are the vehicles that you should target. Excuse me for the person. I think there's a Hellcat driving around outside. But yeah, these are the vehicles that you should target. And I just wanted to give you guys this as a tip. And just in case you're looking to find a Subaru Solterra that you can lease near you. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call it a video. Thank you all for watching. And as always, if you have any questions about the Subaru Solterra, or just car leasing in general, or about DriveMatch.com, which is a company I co-founded where you can find pre-negotiated lease deals, just let me know in the comment section below. And, I'm happy to get back to you and answer all your questions. But with that, I'm going to call it a video. Thank you all for watching. Financial knowledge is power. Please like and follow for more.